Welcome, everybody, to the Sounds of the Hardwood Podcast, your source for everything basketball. Fellas, welcome back. It's been a while. How y'all doing?
Guys.
Good to be
good,
back.
doing good.
Everything good. Well, you know what I'm saying? Season is here. So let's get right to it. Every year we all break down power rankings, best to worst, worst to best, how you want to go about it. It's really interesting this year with COVID, shortened season, 72 games, no fans, nothing, just same thing as well with the bubble during the playoffs. Let's get right to the Eastern Conference. And I'll start with you out here. Where do you see which team as the number one in the East?
Even though there was a lot of movement going on in the East, I still got Milwaukee number one. I think the Eric Bledsoe, Drew Holiday is just a trade-off. So I think they stayed the same. They might have lost a few role players, but they still got the best player in the East, which is Giannis. Then when it comes to the second spot, I feel like that's a toss-up. I still got faith in Toronto, though, just because their team camaraderie. So it's going to be Toronto 2, Boston 3. Now, the rest of the lineup, that's when it really gets tricky for me because it's like there's been movement with these teams. So between Indiana, Miami, Philly, I think Philly makes a jump because Doc's a good coach. No matter where he's at, they're making the playoffs. And they're making that a good seed. So I think I got Philly 4.
Wait, who do you have 3?
Boston 3rd, Philly 4th, Indiana 5th. Miami 6. I see Miami falling a little bit because people are going to start legit killing their zone. Now people got it on film. They know they had basically the teams who didn't make it to the bubble had a whole year to prepare. The teams that were in the bubble, to Miami. So I feel like Miami's going to drop a little bit.
Really?
Yep, because,
Are they just to the finals?
Yeah. That was their shocker year. Now people are gonna be like, okay, we got you on film. We know what we're doing with you. I know the schedule is gonna be way different this year, but at the same time, that could hurt teams. Like you said, there's gonna be a lot of home and homes or games like that. And then I got Brooklyn just because we talked about this earlier. I don't think KD's gonna play that much games. I think they're gonna give him the Kawhi treatment.
Yeah, it's gonna be just an easy going process.
So and then we see what happens when Kyrie has to carry a team. They're still gonna take a lot of L's. So what was that? Number 7. I got 7 Brooklyn, and then
6 Brooklyn.
6 Brooklyn. 7. I got Charlotte. I think I like what Charlotte did, even though they basically went on.
It's interesting. Okay.
I like what Charlotte did, even though, Hayward left. I have no hard feelings for Hayward as a Bostonian. But, yeah, I like what Charlotte did. Like, I like who they put around Hayward. And I think that's going to be – and I like that they let Batum go. I think that's going to be just a fresh start for that team. So that's going to be good for them. Then I got Washington after that. So that would be 8, right? That's all 8. And then for the play-in – I have Chicago and New York, your Knicks, for the playing game.
Word. Okay.
That's what I got. That's a bold
statement.
I think RJ Barrett. I think RJ Barrett makes a jump this year. I like who they drafted. I like who they picked up in free agency. And what also helps you guys too. What's going to help a lot of young teams is just the way the schedule is going to be. So I feel like the first half, based on what I've seen,
that's going to a lot of games.
So that's what I got. I'm pretty sure I shocked a lot of y'all with that, but I just see a lot of things going different, especially with the Miami situation.
So yeah, who's at 10?
New York.
Who's 9?
9 was Chicago.
Okay.
Yeah, because it was 9 and 10 for the playing game, right? So that's why I had Chicago and New York. Yeah.
So listen. From a Bostonian to speak that way about getting in the playoffs, that's a shocker. I appreciate the kind words, my brother.
I like the talent y'all got. I'm not gonna lie. I like the talent y'all got.
It's a good look. So before we move forward, we'll keep focused on you right now. So you think the scouting from one year to another is a big factor with Miami dropping so much because Miami dominated the playoffs to get to the finals?
Yeah, I definitely do because I just feel like the end of the day, everybody's professional players in the NBA. Like
Right.
you smacked everybody in the mouth with the zone situation, but the only team who really couldn't beat the zone was Boston, and that was even the regular season too. But there was plenty of teams. Miami did struggle for a little bit in the middle of the season, and they took off towards the end before Corona hit and all that. So we can't forget that they had their struggling parts in the beginning of the last season. So I feel like that's gonna they got stronger with the team building and stuff like that. But I feel like still when it comes to at some point you're gonna have to get out that zone. And then that's when you get exposed. I don't think in 2.5 months, Duncan Robinson became a better defender. Tyler Hero became a better defender. You know what I'm saying? Like, so when you have to go, man, those people will get exposed, and that's what they're going to have on the floor. Only people who I look at, as you know, legit defenders are Bam and Butler. Even Georgia can get exposed. So
before we move on here, you said Charlotte at 7, Washington at 8. So Charlotte was a dumpster fire last year amongst a couple other East teams.
Yes,
you had Charlotte going all the way to 7 over Washington, who has Beal, who balled.
Yeah, and Russell.
Westbrook.
Sounds about it.
That's ball. Listen, I like it. It's different. It's not something you really.
I just feel like Gordon Hayward's going to go back. I just feel like Gordon Hayward's going to go back to the Hayward from Utah because he
was averaging 18 a game as the fourth option in Boston.
That's what he wanted. He's the guy.
So I can see that debate there. So
with Washington, I don't see it as a shot at Washington or even at Westbrook. Look what happened. I'm saying they're making it to the playoffs because they got Russell. You know what I'm saying? Russell's going to get them to the playoffs.
Yeah, he's going to push every team.
If they're going to be 8th or 7th, they're not going to be higher than that, I don't think.
Right.
I don't. Yeah, because that
it was just a shot. Charlotte really didn't do much at all, and you got them over Washington, who has the same team.
Sometimes you get in one player and then changing the playbook around for that one. They didn't have a go-to person. There was just a bunch of guards just playing. Now they probably go around Hayward, which is what Hayward wanted, which is rumors why he left Boston, and then we'll see from there. And again, the schedule plays a big part in why I'm saying what I'm saying, because a lot of these teams aren't facing. They're doing a West Coast trip, but it's not like a normal West Coast trip. You know what I'm saying? So they're not seeing as much West Coast teams in the first half of the season. So it's going to be like a lot of the playoff things, a lot of the power rankings are going to be set off based off the first half of the schedule.
Right.
So
right.
We'll see.
So before I switch up, I'm going to let these guys discuss because I was interested in me. How do y'all feel about Ant's rankings here?
I see Soto
Milwaukee, Toronto, Boston. That's the top 3. Philly, Miami, Brooklyn, 4, 5, 6. Charlotte and Washington complete the top 8, and the playoff game Chicago, New York.
That Knicks one is an uppercut. I ain't recovered from that one. That Knicks one threw me a little bit.
Well, the funny thing is, I kind of have the Knicks in the same range, so there's another haymaker for you.
That's what I'm talking about.
I mean, with my list compared to Ant's top, the first 2 and probably the last 2 are pretty much, the same. It's in that middle.
Where things get. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I mean, I'm gonna, further explain my picks soon.
Okay, Keem, you got knocked out. Looks like.
I mean,
I'm just Nate Robinson over here. So you want to?
No, I didn't go Nate. I didn't go Nate because I'm just going based upon the theory that they play in the toughest division, and with most of your schedule being your division games, I don't see the Knicks winning the division game.
The Knicks are in the toughest division in basketball.
That's the only thing. I don't see them winning the division game.
It's the Atlantic Pacific.
I give y'all a 500 season. I give you that, but that ain't gonna make the playoffs.
36. Possibilities are everywhere.
Well, all right. I mean, one could debate. 500 could get them into that playing game. That's what I'm saying. I didn't throw the record out.
Well, outside of the top 6, 7 to 10 is going to be, I think, between 36 and 29. Or going to be that's to get you in. That's maybe a chance to get in. It all depends on how the middle of the pack goes, obviously.
I'm modest with that 36.
Keem, I'll go to you. See if you can recover yourself, try and salvage what we have going on right now.
All right. All right, so my list is somewhat similar to him. I have some differences. He might not like my first difference of his list, but I'll explain it when I get to it.
I gotta be something with Boston.
So I put Milwaukee first because I think Drew Holiday is a much improved upgrade at the point guard position. So that helps solidify that point guard role. They lost some role players, but they didn't lose anything that's going to make them not the best team in the East consistently anymore. And the Central Division is not that strong, so they can take advantage of that. Then I have the Nets second. I think with a healthy KD and a healthy Kyrie, not losing Dinwiddie, not losing LeVert, not losing Allen, and re-signing Joe Harris, that team is very strong from top to bottom. I don't think they're going to do a load management thing with Durant because the East is very competitive come playoff time, and if he's not in a rhythm to play at a high level, they'll get bounced in the first or second round, which they can't afford to do with a short window of trying to maximize Kevin Durant and Kyrie's careers. Miami, I think they're going to be third. I said they're going to be third because I know Ant mentioned those defensive struggles, but that's why they brought in Avery Bradley and Mo Harkless. They brought in two guys that are perimeter defenders that I can hide Hero, I can hide Duncan Robinson on defense now, and I don't have to play zone as much. I just put a non-shooting player on the court, so they don't have to worry about guarding elite level perimeter players.
Hold on. You got some opinions, Soto? What's going on here?
Because that's the exact same thing I was going to say regarding the Miami Heat. So now I just don't have to explain it. So thank you, Keem.
You're welcome.
Carry on.
Well, for Toronto, I think having Baines and re-signing Van Fleet is big. Van Fleet eventually knows that when Kyle Lowry's contract expires, he's going to become that starting point guard. So he has a better understanding of knowing, okay, I'm going to keep my role that I've had, being that big scoring boost off the bench, sometimes even starting alongside Lowry. And then I think Baines gives them a center that they haven't had in a while, having a big that can shoot, pass, in post, and screen. He's similar to when they had Valanciunas, but Valanciunas wasn't a great shooter at that time. But he does similar things to Valanciunas on both ends on the court. Then fifth, I put Boston. The reason why I put Boston at fifth is because I don't think they did anything to make this team better. I think all they really did was say, I'm going all in on Kemba, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. And then other than that, I don't see nobody else on that team. I see those three players, and if those three players can play at an all-star, superstar caliber players, they'll go far in the East. If Kemba's knee doesn't get right or Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown struggle in the playoffs, there's going to be another second-round Boston exit because the other teams ahead of them have gotten better. And if they don't figure out outside of those three who's going to be those consistent players, Smart is effective, but he only can do but so much. If he's going all out on playing defense, then his offense is going to struggle. If he's focusing too much on his scoring, then his defense sometimes takes a hit. That's just the way he plays sometimes. Philly, I have them at sixth. I think the biggest additions for them wasn't even on court necessarily. It's having Doc Rivers and Daryl Morey, who immediately showed a big difference with the direction of this team. Danny Green provides much needed outside shooting to put alongside Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid. Steph Curry also provides that. Tony Bradley provides that. And Dwight gives them a physical center. So when they take Embiid out the game, it's not a layup drill because Embiid is not on the court anymore.
Wait, so how do you feel about Dwight Howard going to Philly? Because that was different from the leave to go somewhere behind and be ready to go somewhere and be a starter.
I think he understands what his role is now. I think he got the biggest weight off his shoulders, which was his redemption with the Lakers. He's always wanted a chance to try to go back with the Lakers and play how he didn't play the first time. So I think going back and getting that championship with the Lakers made him have that sigh of relief of saying, okay, I'm at the latter part of my career. I'm not that star player anymore. I got my championship ring. Now I can go provide some championship experience to a younger team. And I think
be like a made man pretty much.
Yeah. And I think he'll help Embiid realizing that you can be that all-star superstar force on both sides of the court if you're willing to do that. So I think he helps that. The same thing with Doc being there helps that. So that's the only reason I think he left LA.
That's your top six?
That's my top six. Yeah.
Okay.
7, I put Indiana. That is crucial to the health of Victor Oladipo and Sabonis. If the two of them don't stay healthy, they could easily drop out of that 7th spot and be somewhere else. But if they're healthy, they didn't lose anything. They pretty much stayed the same, which I think is going to give them a big plus because they're a team that's used to playing together and they understand how to play. They're just not as good as those 6 teams that I put ahead of them, but they're still a solid enough team that in the first round they could scare somebody. 8th, I put Atlanta. I think getting Boban Bogdanovic finally gave them a legitimate 2-guard. And then now you say they got Trae Young there. They got John Collins there. They have Clint Capella, which is now going to be their starting center. They like DeAndre Hunter. They like Rondo being there. Herter now is going to move to the bench with Bogdanovic there. And then they got Cam Reddish. So that's a very young team that they can be effective, but with young teams, you got that up and down. Some nights they can look like a good team, some nights they can look like a bad team. So that's the only reason why I put them at 8th is because I'm questioning, can that youth consistently play night in and night out? Then at my 9th seed, I put Charlotte. Similar to like Ant said, I think Gordon Hayward is going to get a chance to return back to the player that he was supposed to be before he unfortunately got hurt when Boston first signed him. So you'll have a chance to be a leader of a young team, and they have young talent with let's try that for a second. With Terry Rozier, Devontae Graham, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, Malik Monk, and now LaMelo Ball. So I think similar to what I just said about the Hawks, they're young, but they have a veteran star player that they can lean in sometimes if Hayward can go back to being that all-star caliber player he was when he got to Boston. And then 10th, I put Washington. And there simply put the Russell Westbrook effect. He either does one or two things for your team. His energy and effort can make you a scary team night in and night out that can win games, or his energy and effort can make you a team that can crash and burn. It really depends. If him and Bradley Beal can mesh very quickly and stay healthy, then they can sit at that 10th seed and make a threat for that 8th seed push. I don't have them in the top 8 only because outside of those two, I'm not sure what the consistent play is of the rest of the team. But if those two players can be a superstar caliber players, then they have a chance to fight for that 8th seed.
So do you have any faith at all in Washington's team outside in the youth group outside of outside of Russ and Beal, but between those two? Like Thomas Bryant, center, Hachimura, that's another quality player.
It's tough because Russell-led teams are going to change how they play. So if you can't get up and down the court with him, then you might not get a lot of touches because he's a guy that he'll go get a rebound. He's going to push the ball off the court. That's why I said it helps a lot for Bradley Beal because now this is a guy that is used to always scoring against set defense that can get a chance to get out and run, similar when they did have a healthy John Wall. He can get some quicker baskets in transition. You can shoot the 3 in transition, gets a basket, gets a free throw line. So a guy like Hachimura may help because he's a slasher, so he may be able to get him down the court because he's not a great outside shooter yet. But again, it's seeing consistent play. If the season starts and it becomes Russell and Beal become the new Wall and Beal, where it's just, okay, those two going to play great, and then who's that other guy, then they could not even sit at that 10th spot. I'm saying a best case here is they can sit at that 10th spot and give them a chance to try to get that 8th spot.
Okay. Before you keep going, I'm going to interject here. So far, the narrative looking like Philly's in the middle of the pack. The past, it was like more so recent years, and so I assume you have Philly in that same range, the 4, 5, and 6 range. Is that all this team is going to be? Because they've been that way for quite a while, even with higher talent, Redick, Tobias Harris, getting Horford, Jimmy Butler out in his tenure. Do you guys feel that Philly is just what they're going to be between, middle of the pack team is going to be competitive, but still can't get over the hump due to it's not coaching.
Ben Simmons come back with a jump shot, we could all be wrong. Well, that's the thing about this pandemic seasons now is people have had a lot of time to really get in the gym and do individual instruction. Normally, under normal circumstances, you do a lot of more team concept because guys are playing pickup, guys are doing their group workouts, and then the teams are having their group training and group workouts. So because we're worried about social distancing and the virus, it's more individual work. So hopefully Ben Simmons has been in the gym, and that's been the top thing him and his trainer have been working on is a jump shot. He comes back with a jump shot, they could easily be a top 4 team in the East because they already have the best center in the East. Then now you give Ben Simmons a guy that is already a threat going to the basket off the dribble, because most teams in playoffs, not to be long out here, but and as a Boston fan knows this, when you play against the 76ers, you don't even guard Ben Simmons past the foul line. But if he gets a jump shot, then now you got to go out there with him, and his ability to get past people off the dribble just becomes even more effective now that you've added some three-point shooting around him.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
I feel like all he has to do is take a few shots, even if you miss, take a few, right?
Shoot it. Literally, I will shoot that. I will shoot the ball.
To make the defense like, okay, well, he will shoot it, but he don't. So that's why people sit half court. But I honestly think they're gonna be middle of the pack just because, their best chance was with Jimmy Butler, which is why Embiid cried after that shot from Kawhi bounced, hit every part of the rim and went in.
Beautiful moment.
Because it's like he knew. It's like you have to pick one. It's between Embiid and Simmons. You got to pick which way you want to go. I mean, there's games and there's spurts of the season where they look great, they mesh well, and there's times where you're literally like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Jimmy Butler made that team have an identity. So I guess we could say Doc will help that team find an identity.
Yeah, make sure we say Glenn. I'm gonna
always say Doc because
if
he was
Doc
Doc when he got that ring in Boston. So yeah, but I just don't. I don't see Ben Simmons shooting the ball. I really don't. I mean, why?
He hasn't been doing it. So
yeah, this has for 5 years. To see what he's gonna do it now.
Still cashing out, still getting the bag, right? Without shooting.
It is what it is. He was almost a Laker. So going on with I guess Otto here. How you doing, my guy? You been?
I want to hear Soto's. Soto got all the facial expressions.
That's what I'm saying. I had him back. He was like,
"What's going on with your list?
Stank face here, ugly face there."
Nah, mine is actually really similar to Keem's actually. So number one, I have Milwaukee. Again, they have Giannis, the best player in the East, in my opinion. I mean, healthy, KD probably would have been, number one, but, we know with the injury.
We gotta wait and see with that.
Right, and then with the addition of Drew Holiday, they have a little big three going with Middleton. I mean, yeah, they lost some depth, but I think they're the team to beat in the East. So number two, I got Miami Heat. Yep. And similar to what Keem said, with the additions of, they lost Crowder, which is huge, but they made up for it by adding Avery Bradley and Mo Harkless. So, and they're one of the deepest teams in the team. That team is solid all around in every position. Three, I got Boston Celtics. And why? I was debating whether to have them 4 or 5, but I really like the pickup of Tristan Thompson. And I think that was a very underrated signing. And for 2 years, $19 million, I think that was a steal. Tremendous rebounder. He's gonna allow them to get second chance points. They didn't improve their team as much as a lot of people hoped, but similar to what
plays.
Right, and similar to what Keem said, they're all in on their guys. I just like their line, their roster. The only thing that's iffy is Kemba Walker's knee. And having Jeff Teague as a backup is a solid pickup. 4, I have the Brooklyn Nets. We're not gonna forget that they have Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, 2 superstars. And then, again, similar to what Keem said, they didn't lose any players. They re-signed Joe Harris. They have Dinwiddie. They have LeVert. They have Allen. Number 5, I have the 76ers. So the 76ers, again, middle of the pack team. What I did like about them is they added shooters to that team. They added Seth Curry. They added Danny Green. I think they lost Horford, right?
Yeah.
They traded Horford. But again, if Ben Simmons doesn't develop a jump shot, then again they're going to be a middle of the pack team. If he does, they could easily be a top 3 team in the East. Number 6, I got the Raptors. So I have the Raptors falling all the way to 6. I think losing Serge Ibaka is huge. That's a very important defensive presence that you lost there. And also like Marcus Gasol was on the decline, but that's veteran leadership right there. And losing those two, plus Lowry is a year older. I mean, they re-signed Van Fleet, but I don't think it's gonna take them over the top. That's why I have them dropping this year. 7, I got the Pacers. The Pacers are a pretty consistent team, and having a healthy Oladipo back should be big for them. We all saw Warren ball out in the bubble, so we'll see what he does. Now
he's back. Now it's off season. Now he's starting over again.
Right. Yeah. We'll see. And then also, I believe Sabonis was injured towards the end of last season, so they're getting him back. So 8, I got the Atlanta Hawks. I like the additions that with Gallinari, with Bogdan.
Bogdanovic.
Yeah,
Bogdanovic.
Yeah, and they're a young core. But what I like about that team is that it's kind of like similar to like Miami in a way. Not in the defensive purposes, just the fact that they have a really deep team. So if for God forbid anybody gets injured, you have somebody ready to step up. And I'm not worried about them offensively. I'm kind of worried about them defensively. But despite that, their additions should take them to the playoffs. Number 9, I got the Wizards. You got 2 superstars in Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook. We all know what Russell Westbrook did with that OKC team that nobody thought was going to be in that playoffs, and now you're playing with another superstar in Bradley Beal, and it's not like that team is trash because they have Hachimura and they have Thomas Bryant, who's a pretty decent big.
Thomas Bryant's very slept on. That's a quality big.
Yeah, healthy, he's a double-double. Like he had his troubles. I think he had a leg injury last year that he was dealing with for most of the season. And for number 10, I got the New York Knickerbockers.
I'm wishing upon a star on that.
And I am. And the main reason why I picked the Knicks is
Obi Toppin?
No. Tom Thibodeau. We all know what Tom Thibodeau did with Minnesota. In his second year, he took them to the playoffs.
He also had Jimmy Butler, Carly Towns.
No, you're right. But we're not going to sit here and say, that the Knicks don't have talent. I mean, Randall, I know people want Randall to be traded, but Randall's a really good big.
He's still a quality ball player.
That's an easy 20 points per game and 10 rebounds. You got Mitch Robinson, the best defensive big in the NBA, and that's just my opinion. I mean, he's right there. Like, I would probably put him second or third, behind Anthony Davis, if that's fair.
AD's still a 4, but yeah.
Obviously, the Knicks have, point guard woes. They still haven't found, a point guard that can, take them over the top. You still have Barrett still developing. But yeah, that's a little, the Knicks fan in me hoping.
Listen, that was an excellent pick. Excellent pick. So I hope you know that.
Yeah, no, I
just don't bet on that.
Listen, on 10, I had the Knicks or the Bulls. To keep it a buck, I had them both, and I just went with the Knicks, even though,
Respect that.
Yeah, the Bulls have nice talent too, but
Chicago's problem is they can't decide on what the roster's going to be, and no one knows what Billy Donovan is going to do with a team that's still, with regardless of that talent, they're still rebuilding. And that's the crazy part. That team should have been in the playoffs last year. But Jim Boylan was a horrible coach for that team. That team needs something different. So I guess with a college-based coach with a younger group, that could work out. So
hopefully,
we'll see how that goes. But that's a great pick.
Yeah, I'm not fully sold on the Hornets just yet. There's
a lot on that roster.
Yeah, I'm just You
got to get into Buzz City. Come on, you got to jump away.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. They're gonna be one of the most entertaining, teams to watch. Because obviously, they got Hayward now, they got LaMelo, but yeah, at that center spot when you have Cody Zeller,
it's Bismack. It's gonna be Bismack. It's not gonna be
Bismack. Oh my god. And
a twin, but
and then obviously the Pistons having 50 forwards, and then y'all people be criticizing the Knicks.
Thank you.
I don't criticize the Pistons. Nobody pays attention to the Pistons, really. If the Knicks didn't play in New York, nobody would really talk about y'all.
No.
Because they're playing in New York. If y'all played in Jersey, we wouldn't talk about y'all like when the Nets was in Jersey.
Keep that same energy. Bad teams are bad teams. In Detroit,
but y'all play in the mecca of basketball. That's the problem.
Doesn't matter. It's still the same concept.
World famous
bad team gets
all that good stuff like that.
Roster. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, don't get that. I mean, I have no complaints with anybody's roster or anybody's power range because this is like.
What's your 8? Your 10 rather. What's your 10 rather?
So I have Miami 1 just off sheer fact that they went to the finals. And that roster is still.
Is it because of Jimmy Butler?
No, because the roster is still top tier. There was no looks at all.
You're gonna put the defending Eastern Conference champ there. No respect.
Yeah, it only makes sense. So we're not gonna rush the team. I don't think Milwaukee got better. I think they stayed the same. But regardless, they got a better point guard than Drew Holiday than Eric Bledsoe. I'm still gonna take the best player in the East at 2.
Okay.
So regardless, Giannis has been in the league for how long? Still doesn't have a jump shot. It still averages 30 a game. 30, 13, and 5 with no jump shot.
Difference between a Giannis and a Ben Simmons is Giannis really pulls up. Like, he be pulling up. In the bubble, he was pulling up like he was KD.
After a while,
he was bricking some of them doing, but he had the confidence.
In basketball sense, you have to shoot the ball. And you go 0 for 3 and show you all of a sudden tie game. You're still going to have to guard the guy because you're not going to let that guy shoot. It's just a sheer principle. And suppose Giannis, it's 1-3. He goes 1 for 4, but that one bucket he makes is the one that puts him over the top for a win. Ben Simmons won't do that. And that's the difference between Giannis will get his 30 no matter what. He will his team to get 30 compared to somebody else. I'm taking the Nets as much as I hate them, no matter what. I'm a Knicks fan, do or die.
God.
KD will probably play the 72-game season. He'll probably play like 45 games this year. I say under 45. They're probably going to go 42-3 with him on them. Name one guy who can guard KD in the East. I can't. Not even Jimmy Butler. You can't guard that. Name another point guard who can guard Kyrie Irving.
About how he's still looking like his old self. So.
Yeah, regardless of the injury, he's always and will be a jump shooter. There's nothing about his game that's crazy. That's going to be, he's a slasher. He's a jump shooter. He's a jump shooter at 7 feet who can pull from 35. With or without a tendon or a knee or an ankle, he can still shoot. So he's going to keep on stepping back. It is what it is. Yeah. So then I'm taking Boston. I think Boston still needs work on that roster. Kemba's still an issue. They're going to go as far as Tatum and Brown will take them. They got to figure out I guess Thompson's their go-to big man, Thompson and Tice. I don't even know if Marcus Smart can be on the roster at this point. I don't know, are they going to go Smart and Kemba with Tatum and Brown? With Hayward gone was a big loss because now we got to move rosters around. But I assume the lineups will still be what they will be at the end of the game. So they might start with Grant Williams and end the game with, I don't know, Rob Williams alongside Thompson. At the end of the day, that team will run. They will live and die on how Tatum develops, how Brown defends. That's their 1-2. That'll be their 1-2 for years, barring some crazy circumstance. They're gonna go and be like, oh yeah, we're gonna trade Tatum for a bunch of this, or we're gonna trade Tatum for KD, or something of that crazy sense. Then I'm taking Toronto. That team is probably next to Miami the best coach team. Losing Marc Gasol is probably bigger than losing Ibaka, because now they have no center. They go small over Ibaka, and now with Ibaka they go with Siakam at the 4. Now they have zero big man. I mean, Baines is a good pick. Is he the one that's going to really, like, is he Marc Gasol? Can he be Marc Gasol?
He can be.
He was in Phoenix.
Yeah, he can be.
That's the one thing we spoke about before we even started this whole podcast thing, how the worst thing Boston did was get rid of Aaron Baines, because he goes to Phoenix for like 1 year and played, Brian Scalabrine-esque, just balls out. Like, where was this? This came out of nowhere.
I agree with that.
Maybe because it's still undecided. As much as they invested their money into Van Vliet, that team will still live and die. Was once Kawhi, and now it's Siakam. This is going to be the year to decide, is Siakam a star? Is he a cornerstone, or is he the guy in Toronto? Is he the superstar that Nick Nurse had he worked on? This is their view on him. So this will be a make or break year for him. Indiana will be my next choice. That team is still a quality team.
Well, you have them
with all the injuries, or with or without. They still got to find out what we're going to do between Sabonis and Turner. I think they're going to move Turner somewhere, probably to a contender.
What number you have
Sabonis Indiana? Indiana's 6 for me. So, T.J. Warren is developing to a significantly efficient scorer. Oladipo's back. Oladipo was a stud. We all realize how well he did when he first left OKC to go to Indiana, and he just took the league by storm. So hopefully him coming back will be somewhat – if he's 80% of what he was before, that team will be competing in the top half. But I'm going for based what they have as is. And they didn't lose – I mean, who did they lose this year, this offseason? Not really much. They still the same team.
Just
so they were what? New coach, which I don't understand why, because they were fine with McMillan. Something had to happen internally. But they were in the playoffs without Oladipo being 100%. He was probably half healthy. So him being fully at full health with that roster as is, they should be more than capable. Then I'm taking Washington as my 1, 2, 3, as my 7.
So
there's not a big the transition between Russ and John Wall isn't a crazy difference regardless of what they're going to follow by. It's still a 2-guard front. They're still going to be, get it and go. But now it's different because John Wall can actually knock down an open jump shot with no hesitation. Russ is still shaking from 3-point line. But the intensity purposes with Russ and John Wall is different. John Wall was 19. His best year was 22 and 10. Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double how many years in a row?
2.
And the fact that it's years in a row, average triple, that's
crazy. Yeah.
That's all you have to say. And then I'm going with Atlanta. I think that there's still a lot to be desired in regards to that roster, because now you go from a team that's been pushing this youth movement between Trae Young, who's good, he's not going to lose minutes to nobody, especially anybody in the Eastern Conference who you would have had, let alone the West. Then you go with Gallinari, who's a quality pickup, injury history. We'll see how good he is this season. Chris Dunn is a backup, quality guard, You got Rondo, who's going to be the guy. He's just there to teach. I think him getting in the ring with the Lakers started off like, I'm here just to teach these guys. And you can tell as the season went with the Lakers that Rondo got Caruso going, got Quinn Cook going, got a lot of the guys that now that he's gone, you're going to see the guys, we'll speak at a later point in regards to the Western Conference, the younger guys that were on that team have now escalated their talent. They have elevated their talent, I should say. So Rondo going to the Hawks, he's there, just do one thing, teach Trae Young how to be a complete guard, albeit he's undersized, but now he'll be more than just a 38 guy, but those 8 assists are just off like I'm being triple teamed in the half court. So it'll be a new dynamic over there. They still decided what they're going to do because they just signed Ngannou. They just drafted Ngannou. They traded for Capella, and they got John Collins, who's better fit at the 5 playing the 4. So they got to decide who's going to take it back. So you don't draft the center in the top 10 to not play that center. So they made a decision with that point. But nonetheless, the most important part is what's going to happen with that the core, Cam Reddish, Kevin Hurd, DeAndre Hunter, with all the vets coming in, who's taking the back seat? And if so, who's willing to take the back seat? Because I'm Gallinari, I'm not playing 30 minutes a game compared to 36 minutes a game, which is, 6 minutes in the NBA is huge.
Yeah.
Because because Lloyd Pierce wants to have Hunter in situations. I mean, Gallinari paid what, $60 million? I'm playing as many minutes as I possibly can. So it's not even just like a basketball kind of, it's just an ego thing. This team was walking to the lottery, which it did, and then you really cleaned everything out and put a whole bunch of vets in. So it's more like a to be determined kind of. That's why I got an 8 because you don't know what is going to be.
They're trying to win games.
Really, the dynamic. Because now it's all on coaching. So you put a whole new roster now. Now it goes from who I got for my 9th pick, Chicago, means all right, nothing's happened. Let's see what we can do with this roster. We make changes now. Like you create this talent around your star. Now it's to make it or break it because now Lloyd Pierce gets fired. You got to find a new coach for that team. Now you got a star who's going to pay super money in Trae Young. On top of you just paid Capella who's paid money. You got to pay John Collins. You just paid Gallinari. You just paid Rondo. You got all these guys coming in. Bogdanovich, huge pickup. But he's do a lot of money as well. So you have a lot of decisions outside of on the court to make a decision with that. My 9th pick, Chicago, it's hot. It's going to be, Georgia's been hot with COVID, but it's going to be hotter inside that arena. Chicago, I have at 9. That team should have made the playoffs. Coaching was the problem. Now they got a young coach who fits a college. Who's the oldest guy on that roster? Otto Porter of important pieces.
Right,
Otto Porter, how's Otto Porter?
He's like 27, 28.
Yeah, he's pretty much like fresh out of college or fresh out of grad school. You know what I'm saying? So, and he's due for big money because he wants a contract after this year. You got Levine. They got to find what they're going to do with marketing. You got Wendell Carter. Kobe White is a budding star in the making. So there's a lot to go inside with that, but that roster itself should get him into the playing game. And then I got my Knicks. I have Charlotte still a lot to do, a lot going on. Gordon Hayward's a big pickup, but as we've seen, one man can't do it all on the floor. But, like So said before, Tom Thibodeau, one coach can really change the dynamic of the entire team. So it's a young group, but compared to the rest of the league, it's not. Nah, play that. Someone play that.
No, do not play that.
Play the music.
Not play that.
No, it's a great song. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna keep
no.
Sir. Yes, sir.
I'm sleeping on the Charlotte Hornets though.
I'm not.
Charlotte was the 9th seed last year. I was sleeping.
They haven't fixed any problem that they needed.
They were technically the 9th seed in the East. Their record was just too bad to make the bubble.
They were
the 9th seed in the East. That's the only reason why they didn't make the bubble, because their record was too bad to make the bubble. But they were the 9th seed.
Regardless of the point guard problems, Tom Thibodeau has developed a lot of guards in his time being. RJ Barrett is a combo player. We'll see how that goes. I think he takes the bump finally. He's been disrespected enough by not giving an all-rookie team last year. So I think, and he said in interviews through our training camp so far that
he definitely got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, like, and especially a top 5 pick, a top 3, 4 pick. It doesn't make any sense how he didn't get picked up. And he played well coming after the All-Star break. But that's understood. We'll see how that pans out. Mitch Robinson is a star in the making on the defensive side of the ball. Rim runner, incredible shot blocker, great rebounder. If he holds well in foul trouble, he'll be improving. Not to mention the backup, Noel. We're not going to realize Noel was a stud defensively. Still is. We're not going to talk about his agent giving up $88 million from the Mavs because he wants to get max money and then has to go back for the minimum. So I was saying I'd still fire that agent. So, but
you saw who they just signed?
Yeah.
Scott Labissiere. Come on. He's going to put
his shout out to Jared. That's his favorite player right there.
So we shall see how that goes.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, they signed Kid Gilchrist. It's if he doesn't make the team, he gets cut. It's not a big end of the deal. It's all cheap contracts. But Randall's a quality player, regardless of the nonsense. You start averaging almost 20 and 10. 20 and 10 being a bum is, if I'm called for averaging 20 and 10, then call me a bum. It is what it is. But Fish tried to make him to this elite point forward thing, and that made no sense. He's just a rim running, get the ball and go, fast break type of winning or 4-man. And under Mike Miller, he kind of got held back in check. He got put back in check. The Rangers put on him, and it was a better look. Hopefully now with a defensive-minded coach, not to mention they drafted Toppin, who if he don't play well, Randall doesn't play well, Top is going to get all those minutes. It's simple. If you don't compete, you don't play. So Tibbs is great development. We've seen what we've done over the years with D Rose, Jimmy Butler, Luol Deng, Taj Gibson, Joe Kim Noah. You've seen the development of Towns. I mean, can't really say much with Wiggins. He took a step back. That's for other things. We all seen that coming. If you can't keep up with Jimmy Butler, then you're not going nowhere. But that's my 10. I feel like if they can get in, is that a series or a playing game for the 9 and 10 spot? Do they confirm and say it yet?
I believe they're gonna copy what they did in the bubble and make it just that.
The one game.
Yeah, the one game.
Yeah, that still works out.
I think, it makes it better. Like one game.
The Knicks are taking to the moon.
I hope, but that's why Detroit. No, Orlando. They're missing Jonathan Isaac. They don't know what to do with the roster. Get well soon, by the way. ACL was crazy. Aaron Gordon's on the move. They got to decide to do with Vucevic. They still got Mo Bamba.
No, I mean, listen, they still got Evan Fournier.
Oh,
GOAT. The GOAT. Shout out to him. That's Ant's favorite player right there.
And you know you love Evan Fournier.
That's his man right there. Got that Fournier in the closet. You got that Fournier jersey in the closet ready to bring it out.
Don't say that.
Nope. I'm not going to call on that guy no more. Y'all will see what I'm talking about.
But then that, it's like
I shouldn't be hooping this year.
The rest of the conference, there's not much from 10 down or 11 down. But the East is, like always, it's mostly top heavy. Unlike the West, which we will get back to shortly. But right now, we'll take this short break. Welcome back. So let's get right to it. The Western Conference. Well, I'm sure I'll let Keem go ahead since he's the reigning Laker fan, and since they want to let him go ahead.
Laker Nation? I know.
Yeah. I'm gonna go do my dishes while Keem goes and rant about the Lakers. So.
The Laker greatness. I could do that, but I would need another whole podcast for that. That's at least 2 hours by itself.
Yeah, but all the viewers we have, if that was the case. But go on. So the West is packed, stacked, ready to go. So break it down for us. Your power rankings.
West is always competitive, but First, of course, I have the Lakers. No surprise there. Defending champions, and they got better. They had a Schroeder, had a Marcus Gasol, Wes Matthews, Montrezl Harrell. They re-signed Caldwell Pope. So that team just got better. To me, they're the hand right now. To me, they're the best team in the league and the best team in the West. Behind them, I have the Clippers. Even though to me, Harrell was a big loss, but Ibaka is serviceable for them. He can play the 4 and the 5. And I think this season is going to be a redemption year for Kawhi and Paul George. They have to really bounce back and play at a very high level to try to prove to people that last year was a fluke. Third, I have the Nuggets. I think losing Jeremy Grant is huge, but not a huge enough loss where they're going to drop out of being a top three team in the West. But now it puts more pressure on Michael Porter Jr. and Gary Harris to be healthy and to be productive all year because you don't have the same depth like they did last year. Fourth, I have the Trailblazers. Offensively, I think that's the scariest team in the NBA. Offensively. Defensively, they're not great, but CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard, Carmelo Anthony, Kanter, and Nurkic, that's a lot of offense that they could put on the floor at one time. And if you're not a great defensive team, they're going to score points on you. But if you can play defense, you give yourself a chance. And if you can also score, you put more pressure on them to really play defense. But I think Covington, if he can have that impact as a defender for them, not only does he play good individual defense, he's also a good team defender. So he can kind of close some of those defensive mistakes that some players on the Trailblazers make, especially Melo and CJ and Dame sometimes get beat off the dribble. So having a guy that can quickly come and help, and then they can go to his man will help them defensively. Then fifth, I put Dallas. That really depends on the health of Porzingis and the consistent play of Luka Doncic. Mark Cuban has been a strong believer of saying that he regrets not staying with Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki, and that's who he compares Luka Doncic and Porzingis to. That's his remake of that. Healthy, that team is solid enough where they could be a 5th seed in the West. 6, I went with Utah. Utah has Donovan Mitchell secured now long term. They have Rudy Gobert that they like as their starting center. Ingles plays well for them at that 2 spot. Clarkson now is a guy that they can either start at the 2 or bring him off the bench. And then now having Conley there for a second season, I think he's more comfortable in his role and what he's supposed to be alongside Mitchell. The first year, I think he spent a lot of time filling out how Utah played and how Mitchell played. So that sometimes he didn't really know, okay, do I be aggressive or do I sit back and watch Donovan Mitchell? Now he knows that, okay, this guy is that go-to. Mitchell is a go-to scoring option. He needs some help. So I think the two of them, if they can be a dynamic duo for Utah, then that team takes a step forward and solidifies a 6th spot, maybe can make a push for a 4 or 5 seed, depending on health of the 2 teams above them. 7th, I have Houston. I think Houston with John Wall and James Harden can be a 7th seed, about where they were last year with Russell Westbrook there. The only problem is what does James Harden want to do? If he still wants to be traded or if he's going to decide to stay, that's going to play a big part on that team. Because if he stays and he doesn't really want to be there, that could be toxic, and then they could drop out of the playoffs, in my opinion, if that team is not focused in on playing basketball right now. 8th, I put the Pelicans. To me, I've said it in previous podcasts, to me, in the future, that's a scary team because of that young talent they have. They've decided that Brandon Ingram is going to be that franchise centerpiece player, and he's still very young. So they're going to be a talented team for a long time. The development and the continuing play of Lonzo Ball and Zion Williamson is going to be big because Ingram is that go-to guy, but right now they haven't solidified a 2nd and 3rd option. I think Lonzo could be that playmaker that they need to help spread the ball around and get some of those non-shooters, some easy baskets. And Zion is supposed to be that other franchise player that they have on the court. And then I think they're having a coach that is going to infuse some older style of play to a team that's pretty much played more of a modern style of basketball. And Van Gundy is also going to be an addition, but it depends on how those young players take to him. And Steven Adams gives them a defensive-minded big that can also offensive rebound and set screens and pass the ball on offense for them, which they didn't have since they lost Anthony Davis. And then ninth, I have the Golden State Warriors. When they lost Kevin Durant, they really went back to that strength and numbers basketball. Klay Thompson getting hurt is a big loss for them, but I think it even more plays into that strength and numbers concept. Now that Steph Curry is really going to need the performances of Draymond Green, Kelly Oubre, Andrew Wiggins, and now the rookie Wiseman on a consistent nights to help them be a competitive team. And then if they can stay healthy and that get back to that strength and numbers team, I think Steve Kerr can maybe surprise some people and that team might sneak into the playoffs. And that's not going to be easy first-round opponent for anybody, especially even if it's the Lakers, because of the fact that that's a team that has been there and won before, and they always play with a chip on their shoulder. And then 10th, I put the Phoenix Suns. Chris Paul is a good addition, yes, but it came at the price of losing Kelly Oubre, who was a big-time player for them last year. In the bubble, it was Booker, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, and Kelly Oubre were the best three players for that team. I think Ricky Rubio's performance in the bubble got overlooked. He was that playmaker that they've been looking for, that they haven't had since they got rid of Gordon Dragic. But they decided to go with Chris Paul.
Yeah. And Bledsoe. That was a nice bunch.
Had a lot of guards. But they decided to go with Chris Paul. Only thing with going Chris Paul over Rubio is Chris Paul is older. So we don't know what he'll look like. If he looks like the player he was in OKC, then yeah, they got a chance to fight for that playing game to make it into the playoffs. If he starts to look like he's on the decline, then they'll just be like they were this year. They'll make a lot of noise, but they'll just be on the outside looking in.
That's fair. I see you went ahead and put the Warriors in there, regardless of them not having Clay, but Curry's back. So what about the Warriors makes you have them as a bubble team rather than being an actual top 8 seed?
I think if they had Thompson there, I would probably say they make the playoffs at the 8th seed. I would have put them 8th and put the Pelicans 9th because Clay and Steph are the best backcourt in NBA when healthy. Mm-hmm. When what they do, and it's really mostly because of Klay Thompson. Because if you talk about the scoring, there are other scoring duos that are up there with them. Obviously, CJ and Dame could arguably say scoring-wise, they're the best duo in the league. But what Klay Thompson does defensively, because CJ and Dame are not great defenders, he overshadows that. Right. So having a guy that can defend at a high level and score at a high level makes them that dangerous. So not having him, I said they took a step back to that 9th seed. But I think now getting Kelly Oubre, it takes some pressure off of Andrew Wiggins because he's not a second option. If you said there was no Kelly Oubre, he'd be that second option hands down because it'd have to be, okay, it got to be you, Curry, and Draymond. And then Wiseman as he starts to develop. But now with Oubre, those are two guys on the court that can score 15 to 20 points where they can say, okay, Wiggins doesn't have to get 20, 25. You can give us 10, 15. And Oubre, you give us 10 to 15. Curry, you give us your 25, 30. Draymond, you give us your 10, 15. And then if Wiseman could turn into that 20 and 10 threat that they think that he can be, then that makes them a scary team in the West to fight for that 8th spot.
So hypothetically speaking, if you were to have a healthy Klay Thompson, where are you putting the Warriors at?
I'd have them at the 8th if healthy, because then they wouldn't have Kelly Oubre. If Klay Thompson is healthy, they don't go get Kelly Oubre. So then now that other option is Andrew Wiggins. They went and got Oubre because Klay Thompson got hurt. So that's is the weird thing of why I think next year they're scarier. Because if they say, I keep Steph, I keep Klay, and then I get rid of Wiggins, and that third option now becomes Kelly Oubre, then that's a scarier team. Because now it's like when they had Harrison Barnes, and Kelly Oubre is a better player than Harrison Barnes. So now you got the lead man and Steph and Klay, Oubre, who's a better player than Barnes, who'll give you 15, 20 points. You got Draymond, and then now you have a second-year version of Wiseman and not a rookie version of Wiseman. So that's why, like I said, the Warriors in a weird spot because, like I said, they don't make the Oubre deal if Thompson doesn't get hurt. If Thompson doesn't get hurt, they don't feel that need to go get Kelly Oubre. But with him getting hurt, that made them scarier going forward.
Okay, so if there was no Oubre, but it was Steph, Clay, Wiggins, Green, Wiseman, where would you have the Warriors at?
8th. I'd put him at 8th. I do not trust Andrew Wiggins because
that's what I'm like.
Because if you're looking at that team, right? Even if you said Steph and Clay, okay, they have Steph and Clay. Still, their bench is still not that great.
Right.
Still not a great bench. An older Draymond who's coming off in season where he spent most of that time hurt, and Curry's coming off a season when he's been hurt, and Thompson is coming off a devastating injury from last year.
Another one.
So that's why I said coming off ACL injury, we don't know how long it would have took Clay to really get back into a top level of play. It may have taken him 15, 20 games to really get his feet back under him where he started looking like that Klay Thompson before he got hurt.
Right.
And with a season where you got COVID makes it unpredictable, you got most of your games being played in your division, it makes it a harder feel for him to just get going that quickly. Same thing you worried about with Kevin Durant. That's the only reason why I said that.
Okay.
But I think next year, if they decide to bring back Kelly Oubre and dump Wiggins, next year I think they go back to being a top 4 team in the Western Conference.
Okay. I was like, hold on a second. I was like, so the Warriors don't get in with them. I was confused, but I just wanted clarification. I'm like, hold on a second. Like that got me like, I was bamboozled. I was bamboozled, ran astray. That was a little while, but I was like, I want to hear a full clarification for it. I was like, that was hot. That's spicy. That's spicy. That's spicy than Soto's chicken Alfredo. That's just not really spicy at all. So I'll you know what? Soto was giving you some oddball looks. So you know what? I'll go to Soto for the next year.
The king of the oddball looks.
Yeah, like I had some looks, but Soto was like, "What? What did he say?"
Yeah, for sure, I noticed.
Yo, when I think so, number one, obviously, you know, I got the Lakers, and when I think about the Lakers, I think of one guy, Jared Dudley.
Oh my God! That will do the podcast. I want you to have a good night and never come back again.
No, so you know,
hold up. Can you believe they gave him a no trade clause?
Because that man's the GOAT.
Can you believe they gave him what, $2.9 million? Was it
2.6 with a no trade?
That's what AD was waiting for. He's waiting for Jared Dudley to sign.
Oh boy!
But
go on, Saul.
No, I mean, go with the Lakers. You would think, you know, after a championship, you know, a team wins a championship, you think they would, you know, go on a drought or something. They got better, tremendously better. You know, they got the 6th man of the year, and they got the runner-up of the 6th man of the year. So they're absolutely stacked right now. So, you know, nobody's taking down the Lakers in the West. So I have the Lakers at 1. At 2, it may come as a little of a surprise, but I have Denver. And the reason I have Denver is because Jamal Murray has now transitioned into being a superstar after that bubble performance. And, yeah, Grant is a huge loss for them, but this is where Michael Porter Jr. steps up and becomes that third
He gets what he wants.
Exactly. And becomes that third, like, you know, significant option that they truly need. So, yeah, I have the Nuggets going too. For 3, I got the Clippers. You know, the Clippers, I think, are taking a little dip this season. They lost Montrezl Harrell. Yeah, they got Ibaka, but I think the supporting cast that Kawhi has now is worse than last year.
I can agree with that.
So that's why I have them sliding a bit. 4, I got – what do I got 4? Oh, Utah. So I have Utah going 4th. And the reason I have Utah going 4th is because, again, similar to what I said about, you know, Denver with Jamal Murray, is the same thing with Donovan Mitchell. And then plus they get Bogdanovich back, who was out last season. And also, I mean, he's still a significant player, a pretty decent player. They get Derek Favors again, you know, have him come out the bench. It's
another quality big they ought to have.
Right. It's a quality big that they have off the bench. So it just, it improves their bench. Let me see. Number 5, I got the Blazers. Keem hit the money when he said, they're the most dangerous offensive team. And then not only do they have the same players, they also add Covington, a great 3-and-D guy. And you have Melo come off the bench. I hope Melo goes after that 6th Man of the Year award. So yeah, and that's the thing. You don't know, like, you have Dame and McCollum, but they have so many other shooters. They have Gary Trent Jr. I mean, also getting Cantor back is big because he felt really comfortable in that system, so he could be big for them coming off the bench.
Double.
Right. 6, I have the Rockets, and we don't know what to expect from John Wall. We do know, obviously you're going to have the superstar in James Harden, but we don't know what to expect from John Wall. But having him reunite with Boogie, I think is very exciting. I think it's going to – right, and it boosts the confidence of both players. And they also signed Christian Wood. So I like the Rockets' roster this season more than last season.
They're interesting.
Right, because this season they have more of a complete lineup. Last year, they were lacking bigs. They went small ball. And, I mean, that can only take you so far. So now they have a little bit of everything. So, I have them at 6. At 7, I have the Mavericks. And originally, I had the Mavericks maybe potentially going 3 or 4. But we don't know what's up with the health of Porzingis. That's just a big question mark, a mystery. We know Luka. Luka is like on the cusp of that superstar potential. And they did improve the roster a little bit, but they need to add more pieces to it because again, we just like Porzingis' future is kind of like uncertain right now with that injury. It's like we don't know what to expect when he comes back. It's not going to be the same old.
If he's back 100%, even like whatever he's going to be.
Right. So I have them at 7. At 8, I have the Warriors. Yeah. Listen, the injury to Klay Thompson is devastating. If Klay actually was healthy, I had them probably 4th because we're just playing the if healthy card. Trading for Kelly Oubre was completely huge. You have all these players that are coming back who were injured last season. So, and then you add Wiseman, something that they were kind of lacking, a true big man. It's going to be interesting to see. Of course, there's questions also about Curry because the last 2 seasons he's missed I think 20+ games. So his health is also a question mark, which is why I have them at 8. 9, Phoenix Suns. So what they go 8-0 in the bubble, 9-0.
8-0, missed it by I think a game and a half.
Right, and then you add Chris Paul, that veteran, point guard, future Hall of Famer. It's just going to take the pressure off Devin Booker. And then this is going to make DeAndre Ayton a whole lot better because that's going to be pick and rolls every time. So, yeah, I love the Phoenix Suns at 9. And for the 10th spot,
Spurs, son. Why is anybody surprised by the Spurs fan picking the Spurs? Two fan picks.
10. Yes, you're right.
Before you go on with this,
2 fan picks.
Yeah, so before we go with that, with what's going on with this team, what mixes that's the 10? Before you go on your Spurs tangent.
Oh yeah, of course.
What makes you feel however, is that the Spurs will go from where they were to jump into the playoffs again with the same net roster? So what is it? Where do you see the jump? Because the West is hot.
Right, but all right. So I think I'll break this down. I think the Kings and Thunder didn't do anything to help their offseason.
Kings got worse. Thunder got worse.
Right.
Well, yeah.
And the Kings, I mean, yeah, they got Whiteside, but I mean, I'm sorry, but he's a lazy big, so I don't see how that's an improvement.
Lazy is has to be polite.
Pelicans,
Still gets double.
I think the Pelicans,
I know.
they're very talented. I'm not truly sold on them yet. And then the fact that they lost Drew Holiday, I think is huge. I mean, they obviously they needed to get rid of him, but I just don't see, like, I'm not confident in them just yet. I just need to see some more games out of them. Now that they're all fully healthy, you have a fully healthy Zion to start the season off. I'm just not convinced with them yet. Who do I have? Oh, Memphis. All right, Memphis. I don't think they even signed anybody in the offseason.
Disappointing all season.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Morant obviously is the future of that team, but they have a decent lineup and coach and system, but they didn't do much to improve that team. They just stayed put.
Should have kept Jay Crowder.
So I'm looking at it in the sense where the Spurs. I love the Spurs, both of their draft picks. So they, off the bat, they improved that. And then it's a possibility that, you could trade DeMar DeRozan and Aldridge, but, as of right now, they're still part of the team. And there's still two All-Stars. I'm not going to say superstars because, they're past their prime right now. But there's two All-Stars. So, and also, I'm a Spurs fan, so I have them at 10.
I respect it. I was just like, what's your theology on that? I was like,
yeah. I just saw, like, what the other teams did. The Kings, the Thunders, the Timberwolves, like, they didn't do much. Okay, the Timberwolves, yeah, they added, what was the topic? Yeah, Edwards.
Anthony Edwards.
But again, we don't know how he fits with that team and how he fits with, D'Angelo Russell. And then, the other teams like, the Memphis Grizzlies, they just stayed put. They didn't improve the team at all. So that's why I picked the Spurs at 10.
Okay.
Come on. Out of all those teams, Coach Pop?
Yeah. Who did make the playoffs this year?
And Pop, we trust.
I trust in Pop.
Trusted or trust?
No, I trust.
Trust in.
Okay. You said trusted for the. I trusted Pop. All right, you trusted.
Nah, I trust in Pop.
He might pop up for real.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So before I take my pick, I was seeing what you were thinking about that. The Spurs. One was going to complain. I had no complaints on your pick. Before, Senor McDaniels. Hey, how we doing tonight? You feeling good? You just sitting there relaxing?
No, I've been nodding my head a lot because I honestly agree a lot with is honestly dead on just about with Soto minus the Spurs situation. So number one, we got the returning champs, the Lakers. Number two, I got Denver. I feel like they lost Grant, but Michael Porter Jr. is gonna fill that spot with no problem. He was showing a lot of good signs in the bubble, so I think that was the confidence spark he needed and the coach and staff needed in him to see that, to be like, okay, you know what? It's okay we lost that guy. We have faith in you. Third, I have the Clippers because they're still a good team. They still got Kawhi. They still got Paul George. They got Ibaka to replace Montrez, which is fine. I think it's right? Yeah, I rock with Ibaka. I feel like that's going to be a good trade-off. But the only reason why I have them going from second to third is just because even though, certain people left and stuff, it's just a bunch of, like, it's still the battle of L.A. It's not really a battle. It's the Lakers city, whatever. But it's just the whole Doc, was he using me right? Like the other day, Paul George came out saying I felt like I wasn't being used right. And then Doc responded today talking about, I'm not going to go there with that. And if he feels that way, it wasn't just one coaching thing. It was the overall. It was all the
right now.
Yeah, exactly. So even that shot, it's like you kind of took a shot at your assistant, who's now the head coach over there. It's like it's just messy over there right now. But I think even with all the off-court mess, I guess you can call it, they'll still find a way because they're talented to hang around that third place area. Fourth, I have the Blazers because they're going to be healthy. I feel like as long as they stay healthy, like going off what Keem said, and also what Soto said, they got so much scores. Like they got scores. I mean, so much scores. It's just like that's the point of the game. Like you can only stop so much people, and if everybody's scoring, it's like, yo, we can't do nothing.
They're gonna average 130 a game. Watch.
And probably still give up like 115, but
they're gonna give up a lot of points too.
It is all good. Here's what my Western Conference rankings start to go different from what Soto did. I got Utah after the Blazers because I feel like Donovan Mitchell made that leap, and he gave a few 50 balls. Like it's only been
50 balls.
Yeah. It's only been 2 months, so I feel like when you're hot, you're hot. He's still hot. I feel like that first 2-3 weeks of the NBA season is going to be crazy. Not preseason, but when the season starts back up, you're going to see a lot of crazy numbers again. I like the favorites pickup. I also agree with what Keem was saying that Conley being there for the second year is going to, bring the camaraderie with them. Mitchell can move back off the ball. Conley missed a little bit of the bubble due to the birth of his child. So I feel like that's just good overall for the team. Dallas I have as that would be my sixth one, right? Yeah. So Dallas will be sixth. I think even with Porzingis possibly playing a little bit of the season, maybe not, who knows? I still think that Luka's that guy where he can put the Mavericks on his back and do what he has to do to get them into the playoff spot. Now, will they get out the first round without Porzingis? Doubt it. But we know Luka is that guy. We've seen it. He already showed it. So I feel like he's going to do what he has to do. Seventh, I have Houston. Not only because they have the freaking, the 4-time leading scorer in the NBA right now?
Harden.
3, 4, yeah, Harden. So no matter what's going on, with if he wants to be there right now or not, we know he's been clubbing with little baby lately, whatever. He's still a walking bucket. Like that boy.
The Houston clubs are pretty nice around this time of year.
Yeah. He paid a lot of tuitions, future tuitions, mortgages, who knows? But they was making it rain. He was making it rain. They all were. But anyways, but with that being said, that's off the court. On the court, he's still a bucket. So he's still gonna do what he has to do on the court. And I feel like John Wall and Boogie already have chemistry. So that just makes those three together. It's gonna be like, all right, maybe if the coach is smart, you have Harden go back off ball, similar to OKC days a little bit. I mean, granted, he's gonna be on ball a lot, but in certain situations, he can save some energy for fourth quarter. He always burns out. For how many seasons now straight we see him burn out? And then it looked like he burned out in the bubble, but he did. Like, he always burns out in the playoffs because he's doing so much. It's starting to become his, like, oh, he's just a regular season guy, which is still fun to watch. But then there's, like, the playoffs. It's just like, damn,
what's going on? You make your money.
Exactly. Eighth, I got the Warriors creeping in eighth. I think we are forgetting, not just us, but the media, everybody, who the hell Steph Curry is. He done changed the game. He done changed the whole NBA. He done changed the video games too. Like, to the point where some people hate playing the video games. Like,
that's the worst.
Legit. So, yeah, he didn't play that much, but we got to remember he did come back from that injury, the wrist injury, and then there was just, having a crappy season, so he just chilled out, which is fine. It sucks what happened to Clay. It really does. And I think if Clay's healthy, then they're top 4, top 5. Right. I think Wiseman fits right in. I think Oubre fits right in. I think Draymond does what Draymond does. He's the glue. And I think Curry having to sit there and watch, especially LeBron, because he's been going at it with LeBron his whole career when it comes to, battle in the finals, championship-wise and stuff. To watch LeBron, get that ring and stuff, similar to what I feel like KD probably feels. He's probably like, damn, I want to get back on that court. I got a chip on my shoulder. Nobody's talking about Curry. Everybody's talking about the loss to Clay. Nobody thinks Curry could do this, but he can. So I feel like I also feel like he's going to tweak his game. I feel like he probably definitely tweaked his game a little bit because he's up there with age now. He's getting older, and that's when guards start to tweak their game. Maybe he doesn't take as much contact going to the hoop. Maybe he literally just stops and do floaters, also Chris Paul stuff, or literally stops and just straight middies to, you know, preserve his body and try to stay healthy as much as possible. Ninth, I got Phoenix. I think they just ride that train off what they already had going on in the bubble from going undefeated.
That Booker run.
Yep. And then now you add Chris Paul, which similar to what I just said about Harden possibly with what they could do with Wall is with Chris Paul, they Booker off ball, Booker go through screens. You know, Chris Paul is going to help Booker become even better, which is even more scarier because we're already like, damn, can he get like he's already a good scorer? Like, can he get So imagine Chris Paul making Booker a two-way guy. Like that's scary. So I got them honestly fighting for the eighth spot, but ended up, you know, losing that battle, being ninth. And I got the Pelicans being 10th. They have a really good squad on paper. I don't know how it's gonna work out when they play, but I really like that squad on paper. I'm an Adams fan. We know that. So I think Adams helps Zion develop, and I also think Adams being there big works out with Bledsoe and Lonzo, like with pick and roll games and all that, and just a good defender who just a veteran leader who knows the game well, who can just bring some knowledge onto these young guys. And I think Ingram balls out this year.
Okay.
I think Ingram balls out this year.
You had Houston at 7. So where do you see the dynamic of John Wall and Boogie Cousins coming back together playing a part?
I think it plays a huge part because literally I don't have Houston making the playoffs, or maybe they make the play-in if there's no John Wall there and they just lose Westbrook for nothing. So I think John Wall definitely brings a he has a chip on his shoulder. He's gonna bring a bunch of firepower. He's gonna push that ball like to the point where when kind of like a young Westbrook. I feel like the reuniting Westbrook and Harden happened a little bit too late, maybe 2 years too late. So now it's like you can see when you put John Wall there, what maybe it could have been a couple years ago, or maybe if he never left OKC, it's gonna be up tempo, which Harden already loves, which he's already used to. Sometimes you don't have to go crash. Boogie will take care of the ball if he could just leak. Wall will look up, throw away. Like it's just gonna be high pace, a lot of scoring, which is typical Houston basketball.
Definitely a comeback player of the year nominee.
Yes, definitely. Oh, him. Anybody coming off injury, him, Curry, KD, even Boogie. But I feel like Wall shows his impact when it comes to the second half of the season and playoffs when the game slows down, because he's gonna do pick and roll with Boogie, pick and pop with Boogie. I feel like when you have that chemistry with somebody, you don't lose it. They went to college together. They even before that, they know each other since I think it was 13, 14. So they got years. They got years. Yes, they got years. So it's like that doesn't. You don't leave that now. Hopefully, Harden and Wall can,
mesh.
The key is Harden.
But the key is Harden, because the way it seems like his mindset is, it's like I'm doing whatever to get the hell out of here.
Yeah, right. It's Harden. If he don't want to be there, this season's over.
Yeah.
Hope you don't sabotage, because that'd be a little interesting.
I mean, technically, he's already breaking rules if we go by what the NBA already put out. So we don't even know what the NBA is going to do about that. And
Harden is Houston, so
he's pretty much
positive. On top of that, it's over.
Yeah, he's pretty much forcing like the Rockets' hand right now at this point.
Yeah,
he's kind of pouting right now.
He's on some pouting and on some. I get there when I get there, and when I get there, I'm gonna just give the whole NBA buckets, which we know you do, bro. But we need more than that from you.
And that's the thing. Like,
tired of saying you're the leading scorer.
If I'm Harden, I should be like, yo, like let me give this shit a shot, because it's like I think on paper this is a way better roster than they had last year.
Oh, 100%.
Definitely, because they actually
have a center.
They have
two. They have two.
Exactly.
He's just worried about the change of play being different with a new coach.
That and also, I don't think he approved of the new coach, and I don't think it's a shot towards Wall or Boogie. I think it's more towards management. It's to upper management, like, yo, y'all keep doing these reckless changes without informing me, but I'm your guy. You guys wanted me, you guys signed me, you guys gave me millions on top of millions on top of millions.
$160. and counting.
Well, Steven
And you guys can-
Silas has been there the whole time, so it's not like this is
He
like
has.
somebody that's
I know, but
He doesn't have D'Antoni's play or similar
yeah,
play style, but he's going to
the rumors
incorporate.
came out about a week after D'Antoni was gone that him and Westbrook didn't like that, and that obviously it hit hard and harder because him and D'Antoni were really close. Like, think about it. Like,
because
who
D'Antoni
wouldn't
gave him the
want
ball to do. She wanted to off.
exactly made him
I'm
who
gonna
he was?
listen to NBA radio a lot, so I'm gonna steal Sam Mitchell's concept.
Okay.
When you love a coach, you win for him. It's hard to say you love a coach when you're not winning for him. He knew going into last season what D'Antoni was walking into. This was if we don't make the finals, he's going. So when you're the best player, you know that your head coach is under that type of pressure, you gotta go get it done for him. If you don't get it done for him,
The team with bigs, they had none.
You're out of there.
And he did his best. I mean, they didn't have a big.
So you're supposed to go in the front office and tell Daryl Morey, like, yo, bro, don't trade Capella.
That's why I brought up.
But that's a deal they made. They asked him first. They didn't make that trade not asking James Harden.
I don't know because I feel like Capella and Harden had some chemistry, man.
Yeah,
they really did.
But they gonna ask him that. That's a trade that big. They asked him that. They ain't just sit there and go, yeah, we good. So, all right, you be all right. We're gonna trade your center, and you're gonna figure it out. They asked him.
That's the worst thing they ever did.
That's really got clipped in the playoffs.
That sent them back 2 years.
I mean,
yeah, they put a better shot, but they got destroyed in the playoffs.
Like you said,
they barely got by.
James Harden, like you said, James Harden's a bucket. They probably said to him, "No Capella, look at that lane you gonna have." He probably was like, "Yeah, you right. Oh man, I'm about to get these buckets now."
And you got ran out of town.
Bucket. Yeah, that's why I say if there was no John Wall and they just lost Westbrook for nothing, then I will have them out and I have Memphis creeping in because Josh he's hungry, man. Josh has that.
He's ready.
Josh has that young Westbrook mentality. Yeah, but with a little bit better IQ. Like it's like he knows and he can shoot.
That's the thing. He gets it. He knows what he can do, and that's the scariest part.
Exactly.
He knows what you can do, and then not knowing
player in his draft class.
Blind Fury. Like that says a lot. So I'll step in with mine. Obviously, because when you go to the finals, whether you win or lose, you're 1-2. So Miami's the first seed. He's first place in my power ranking in the East. The Lakers won the chip. So no matter how much they gained or lost, they still just won the chip.
Yeah.
So therefore, they're the first seed. There's nothing else to debate about that. So 2, I'm going with the Nuggets. I think losing Grant was big, but it wasn't the end all that like, all right, we're gonna be dubbed down a lot. Jamal Murray Reese's his point. It's him and Jokic, who's the superstar of the team. Either or, the team runs through Jokic, but Jamal Murray is the one that drives the whip. He drives the whip. He drives the Lamborghini all the way. You gotta do. That franchise is in a luxurious state right now because you have 2 stars, 2 legitimate stars. Either one of them is a superstar, and you got Michael Porter Jr., who's been talking a lot of smack. A whole lot of garbage.
I'm the
guy. And then Knicks could have had him. That's the crazy part.
I said that too. But it was like, no, we can't. Porzingis is hurt. We can't take out with a bad back.
Would y'all Jeff said? Neil Keenan or something like that? Kevin Knox? One of them boys.
No, Knox. No. Yes, Knox. No, it
was Knox. It was Knox.
So don't remember. It's a nightmare.
So, but at the same time, shout out to Porter Jr. because back's to back. When you have a lumbar, that means if something goes wrong, you're not playing ball ever again. So shout out to him to be healthy. So he's playing with that chip because anybody and who wouldn't say otherwise, if you're at the point where you can't walk anymore and now you're playing in the league, you're balling in the playoffs, you will have that chip until you prove otherwise. So until he gets that max money and is the guy in Denver, he's going to be going after everybody, which is understandable. I would too. If I'm being counted out by injury, I'm beating the odds. But that team fit. Mike Malone has a great system. That system is a plug and play. Will Barton's coming back, so I'm not really sweating losing Jeremy Grant because Paul Millsap, no matter how old he gets, his style of play still fits exactly what needs to be done. And he's a proven vet. We've seen it from time and time again.
Because I completely forgot about Will Barton.
Will Barton is, and they paid him money to be that guy. Jeremy Grant took over because Will Barton was hurt. So, and Paul Millsap, as we've seen, whether it was Utah, whether it was Atlanta, and even now with Denver, he produces when given. He sits on the bench. He does what we got to do. Gets in the game, he produces. So with no Grant, yes, they got a little older because of that. At the same time, Paul Millsap's one of the highly coveted free agents, or even just players in general, that Denver still has. And he was a mainstay of the team beforehand, before anybody came around. Then went to Clippers. Losing Trez was, I wouldn't say it was like vital, but it was important. Trez fit what Montrezl Harrell, 6th man of the year, was a quality big that fit what was needed to score when the Clippers couldn't score. At the same time, he was a extreme defensive liability because Zubac couldn't do over so much, and you got Trez chasing all these guys around the floor. It didn't work out for him. In retrospect, you have Ibaka, who won't need the ball. It's just be there to play defense and rebound. And then you have Lou Will, who we're not going to forget how elite Lou Will is.
Lemon Pepper Lou?
Yeah. A.K.A. 20 a game Lou. A.K.A. a quality guard out off the bench.
You can't play no
and
defense.
They overpaid. Defenses. You don't pay Lou Will for defense. Lou Will is for one thing: wings, strippers, and buckets. So that's how it's got to be. But you signed Marcus Morris. You re-signed Marcus Morris. From what I heard, he was on his way out going back to New York, but the Clippers obviously losing Trez. That's going to throw it back at Marcus. Who's not going to say no to $64 million? Do the same thing you did in New York and the Clippers. You stay in the same spot in a contending team, or go back to New York where you want to be at. So I take the bag too if it means me getting paid my biggest payday yet. So with Ty Lue, it's interesting. As good of a coach he is, he's still questionable because he won his chip with LeBron. And we all know every LeBron team is LeBron run team. So we will see how this looks now with he at full control. He's not left with a dumpster fire that was Cleveland. Because you saw how bad it was LeBron. You saw how bad that went. So Kawhi Leonard, top 5 player. Paul George has to shut his mouth and play. Stop saying you want to be here for your career and you get traded the next year. That makes no sense. You were the guy in Indiana. You got mad because they want to rebuild. You wanted out. Your first year with OKC, you had an MVP caliber year. And then you had Melo. And then all of a sudden, I want out. So you want to trade Russ instead of being the guy and taking the mantle of being the superstar. If you are the star of a team and they're giving you the keys to the castle, to the kingdom, you take that and you abuse that ability. He didn't want it. He left Indiana, left OKC. He goes to Clippers. Now he's back home. So your first year back, granted, I understand it. You come out from injury, and I'm not going to question mental health. But when you're on the floor and you feel good, you're back to normal, you did nothing. Before you came out with all your with mental illness, which I'm not going to debate that because we're humans, we all go through that. But you come out saying, I feel better, I feel relieved, and now you're ready to play ball. You still didn't do anything. So that goes back. What did that coincide? Was that just a scapegoat? Was that a cop out? Or were you really not healthy? Or you know what I'm saying? There's a lot in question in regards to that.
It was the pin down's fault.
Was it Glenn's fault? We shall see how that goes. But it's still a quality roster nonetheless. They lost some, but it wasn't. They lost everything. They were able to capitalize on free agency to get what they had to get. Although I will say this: the Shamet loss was big. I'm not a fan of Luke Kennard. Losing Shamet as a guard is pretty important.
That 3-and-D player.
Yeah, so you gotta find it elsewhere. So then you go with the Blazers. As we know, as anybody who knows me personally or who will know me here, I am the end-all, be-all, and say-all for Carmelo Anthony support. Melo is got a full year with the Blazers. CJ is healthy. Dame is healthy. Nurkic, who was the reason why they got into the playoffs from the bubble, is healthy. You picked up Covington, who was going to be a huge part of helping everybody on the floor, not just Dame and CJ and Melo, but Nurkic as well. And then you're going to look at the bench where you have Gary Trent, who came out and shined last year in the playoffs. Cantor comes back, and he's back in a limited role, which is simple. Rebound and post up. Simple as that. Terry Stotts has figured out his system and how to run the system. I hope Melo wins Sixth Man of the Year. Averaging 16 to 17 a game off the bench will be way bigger than it was averaging 20 a game or 18 a game as a starter. So I had a tough call between Utah or Houston going at the 5. I'm going with Utah because Donovan Mitchell is, I'm going to say this now, hot take or not, Donovan Mitchell is a top 10 player in this league.
His first year with Utah, he showed that in the playoffs.
Yeah, he had a chance to be that guy, and then the following year, he just dominated. And as we've seen this going forward, he's shown and proved that he's a bucket, and he will carry your team to wherever this team is going to go. They didn't do much in free agency. They got to find out how to figure out a big man for Gobert. I think Favors is going to be the starting 4-man. They got to find somebody to help out Joe Ingles because Joe Ingles can't be the only small forward shooting the ball. I can't name the rest of that bench who will consistently produce the way Joe Ingles produces. That's you muted, Soto.
I was gonna say my fault. Which is why I think like having Bogdanovich back from injury is huge for them, because then you could either move Favors to the bench, or you can move.
Favors becomes the backup, and then you go Bogdanovich and Ingles as a 3-4. Yeah. So you go small ball with Gobert covering the middle. So, and then you go along with Conley, who I'm a big fan of Conley as well. Mike Conley under a year, he played better in the playoffs than he did in the regular season, and I think now with a full year under the system, Quinn Snyder is an excellent defensive-minded coach, and that team behind Conley, behind Mitchell, behind Gobert, and if Favors finds out how to guard somebody, will fall in play as well. That team will still go as far as Donovan Mitchell will. But if Mitchell does what he does, we get in the playoffs, in the bubble, that team will be a top 5 team, no hesitation. So then I go with Houston at 6. I have John Wall winning Comeback Player of the Year. No slander to KD, but last we seen KD, he was balling in the finals when he got hurt. John Wall got hurt midseason, and they got hurt. What was it? Falling in the shower, falling down the stairs at home, and he was gone for another year.
Slipped down the stairs. He
hasn't played since December 26th, 2018. Do we realize how long that's?
Yeah. It's 3 seasons.
It's been 2 years, about to be 3 because 2020 was around the corner.
It's basically 3 seasons.
It's essentially 3 seasons, 2.5 seasons. So he'll win Comeback Player of the Year, and I think Boogie's going to win Most Improved. They have a good squad. They kept Eric Gordon. They kept PJ Tucker. I think they're going to pay PJ Tucker, otherwise Tucker's going to be gone because there's a whole bunch of anarchist-like players on that roster. PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon would complain about usage. James Harden hates management. Superstars hate their ownership. What else is new? But the difference between Russ and Harden and John Wall and Harden, John Wall knows how to defer. John Wall is a facilitating guard. He's up and down, so the style of play does not change. But John Wall looks to pass first, shoot second. So you don't mind deferring to Harden if it means to produce numbers. Now Wall, if you look at John Wall's game, even playing with Bradley Beal in Washington, he can carry a team consistently for several games. If whatever, due to injury, whatever it may be, John Wall could do it. And the fact that you're playing week 4 before with Ant, Boogie's with them. Boogie's back to normal. Hopefully he's back to normal. Yeah. Boogie can average 20 and 10 on this team without even touching the ball because without offense, with the intern now Steven Silas, they're taking 33s a game. They're taking almost 100 shots a game, or they'll try to. So you can't make them all, and ain't nobody stopping Boogie on the block. So that's going to be rebounds and putbacks every 2 seconds. So even if Cousin goes 18 and 10, 20 and 10, nobody's stopping DeMarcus Cousins. It's been shown in the past. Now, can he do it while being healthy and not getting hurt every 2 seconds, as has been in the past couple of years? We shall see.
I think playing alongside John Wall, he could get back to that level.
Because he doesn't have to do much. With the Kings, he is breaking his body down every play after play.
Yeah, he was like Jokic on that team.
Yeah, but the thing is, Cousins is more athletically gifted. He's more skilled at what he does compared to Jokic. I'm not going to have Jokic run the fast break 15, 20 times a game. Boogie will do that, and he can do that consistently. So we'll see how that goes. Christian Wood, and I said it before, I don't know why the Pistons traded Drummond to play Wood, where Wood's 36-minute per numbers was 23, 7, and 4, shooting 40% from the 3 and 60 from the field, whatever it was, to then let him walk for nothing.
They were just desperate to get out of that Drummond contract.
Like, bro, you got rid of Drummond, it's fine. You played Wood. Then you don't resign him.
He didn't fit with the other 4 bigs they had. Remember,
you didn't need 4 bigs.
How many bigs did they sign this offseason?
They have 5 centers.
That's what I'm saying. They was like, we already got 5. We don't need 6. We don't need 6. They got
all
5.
I'm saying now, Lord, we pray for Blake Griffin. And we play for Derrick Rose.
He might get traded.
Derrick Rose cannot get a jump shot. You can't get a layup with.
They're about to have Blake. They're about to have Blake Griffin play the 2.
Over, bro. Like, I don't know what Dwayne Casey is doing, but that's the East. We're talking about the West. Christian Wood's a great fit at 3, a stretch 4, who can play the 5, and he has an all-around game. So he's defensively minded. He could shoot. He can facilitate. He can do what has to get done to work on the floor. Eric Gordon, former 6th man of the year. PJ Tucker has earned his claim as being the first 5'11" center to hold his own in the league. But now he goes back to being a small forward, being a 4, backup 4, whatever it is. Yeah. And don't sleep on Kenny Wooten either. Kenny Wooten was a former G League player with the Knicks. He was looking for big money. He didn't want to go and be behind anybody. Going to Houston, he gets a bigger role. So being the backup big to DeMarcus Cousins, he does the same thing, rebound and block shots. He's an insanely excellent shot blocker. So as a fellow Knicks fan and a fellow fan of Kenny Wood, I hope, the sky's the floor to him, or what's Jordan's name, the ceiling is the roof. Yeah. So, I hope that Kenny Wood does well. But that team runs as well as James Harden wants to push that team. So, them going to Warriors 7. Steph Curry hopefully gets back to being the best point guard in the league. Now he's the top 3 point guard. Changed the game. What's understood is not need to explain what Steph Curry does to that team. I'm going to go off with what Keem said about Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins was hooping before they picked up Zach LaVine, and then they got Butler, and they just put a whole team. Maybe went from the first option to the 4th, and then all of a sudden his production dropped. When he's with the Warriors now, he was able to produce at a consistent rate, but he wasn't doing anything crazy. He was doing what he did in Minnesota on Golden State. So nothing changes. You got to do what you got to do, averaging 17, 18 a game as the 2nd and or 3rd option, depending how you look at Kelly Oubre and or James Wiseman. That team's going to go as well as Steph Curry goes, but at the same time, they got to fix that bench. The bench is still a big problem. With James Wiseman, that was, if a healthy Klay Thompson, I would have put them 2 or 3 because you can't go by the big. I'll put them at 3 because James Wiseman does exactly what Green was going to do. Well, Green did during the playoffs when they went to the finals year in and year out, but Green is going back to the 4, and now Wiseman controls the paint. He is what Bogut was, but Wiseman can shoot and post up. So that's where I'll sit with the Warriors at 7. At 8, I'm going to Mavs. And the reason why I say that, this team is riding and dying on KP being healthy, Luka being that guy. Luka being that guy couldn't handle the playoffs. And that's just because the team didn't have much to work with. So he just did what he could to get through. KP's injury is huge because once again, like he was with the Knicks and now he's with the Mavericks, he's hurt again. It's another meniscus. He's missing, I don't know how many weeks. I don't know if it's 6 weeks from today or whatever. He got the surgery done. But that's huge. The good thing about the Mavericks, they got Dwight Powell back. And the loss of Seth Curry is going to be huge as he goes to Philly. But it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. We still have DeLon Wright. And
Finney.
shout out to
they still have JJ Barea.
Well, JJ Barea is also
That's the GOAT.
He's it's like
That's the Dallas GOAT over there in Dirk right there.
Shout out to Puerto Rico. That's all I got to say. JJ Barea. Yes, sir. But Rick Carlisle has a great system. That system is almost flawless when healthy. Losing KP's shoes because now you're relying on Luka again to backpack his team again until KP gets back to being mildly healthy. If he's mildly healthy again. So that's why if he was healthier, I put him at 5. But because he's not healthy, I really, as a star, as an owner, I'm really not trying to let Luka play 40 minutes a night for the next 10, 15 games on a condensed 72-game season to get through. Granted, he's like 22. At the same time, you're putting a lot of miles early. We saw what happened to Dwayne Wade in Miami when he was playing 40 minutes a game for 5, 6, 7 years. And then by the time he got with LeBron, after that first finals run, he was on his way to retirement because his body couldn't keep up. And we saw how that broke down almost instantaneously. I'm not praying on that for Luka. I just hope that Luka actually was able to withstand that workload until KP gets back. If he gets back.
They also got Josh Richardson, which is also a pretty
Yeah, but at the same time, you're still missing your key.
Oh, no, of course.
It's all good plug and plays, but that team is Luka 1, KP 2. Yeah. So after Luka, who's your next option? So you and I as Knicks fans, do you really want Tim Hardaway to be your number 2 option?
Don't mention
that Tim Hardaway slander is absurd. That man averages like 15 points a game right now.
Well, shooting
he's
15% three, so I don't want to hit none of that.
He's not a 3-point shooter. He's a streaky 3-point shooter. He's a solid NBA player. He's not a great player. He's a solid NBA player.
Yo, you said who after Luka? It's what Porzingis?
Who is their number 2 scorer on that team?
Come on, it's Boban.
Okay. Y'all sleeping on Keebler like he ain't goated. Shout out to Max Keebler.
Oh my God, what's his
Max?
name?
I believe it's Max. Max.
Max.
Yeah, Maxi Kleber. So I think we're all in the same situation with my pick at 9. I'm taking the Suns. Rubio, as Keem pointed out earlier, Rubio played a key role for Booker's development as a scorer because he's taking less of a role. At the same time, Rubio's biggest fault was Rubio can't score. He can't create on his own. Chris Paul will do that. So Booker's averaging 26, 27 in the game, 27, 5, and 5 as the facilitator, the scorer, and the rebounder all at the guard position. Imagine Chris Paul, who can get his own shot, who will run the offense. All Devin Booker got to do is shoot. He's one of the best shooters in the league, bar none.
He's going to easily average like 30.
I question that team's defense too, though. That's a big question.
Oh, no, of course.
At the same time, defense is going to be a problem. They're missing a couple. They can probably get pieces in free agency, depending who's going to drop or via trades. At the same time, you're looking at the roster: Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker. Those 3 can get you to the playoffs. More so, Devin Booker and Chris Paul. But now you got to find somebody outside of DeAndre Ayton who's still working his way in to be the guy that will anchor an offense and or defense.
If they could have kept Kelly Oubre to get Chris Paul, I'd be all in on this.
That'd be great.
I mean, we
to have to lose Oubre to me. That's just.
I know you're just talking about the Suns, and then we all previously talked about the Suns, and I totally forgot to mention they also did sign Crowder, which is key.
Is Crowder going to be? That's the thing now. Is who's going to take that role? Crowder. Is it Keno like Crowder?
Which one?
Crowder slapped LeBron and got 40 piece the next man. But it is what it is. Crowder, he did it to himself. But is Crowder that third or fourth option? He's going to anchor that offense.
No. I feel like he's gonna anchor the defense.
The person here that should just.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying it's obviously going to be Chris Paul anchoring the offense, and then who's going to respond to that? Booker, you got Bridges, Ayton. Off the bench, you got Sarek.
Sark.
So if he holds out, oh wait, I forgot.
But you forgot the person that should dislike Jay Crowder the most is Ant, because that man could not miss against Boston, but he could not hit in the finals.
Boston,
he could have hit with Boston, could hit in the finals, but he could not miss against Boston.
I knew what it was with Boston. Everybody does that when they play versus their former team. It is what it is. No matter, even when he was on Utah, he would have good games versus Boston. No matter where he's at, he's gonna have good games versus Boston, just because those games wake players up. Like he's always a wake versus Boston.
He's a great energy guy, and he is a great player. He's a great player to fit on any roster in the league. Any rotation you can put in the league, he fits. He gets minutes on any roster. There's no other roster.
Number one, because he plays defense.
He's a glue guy.
At the same time, can he average 15, 16 a game?
He's gonna be wide open. He's gonna be wide open on Phoenix. He better. He's gonna be wide open.
Then you have
I feel like it's the same situation.
A low-key big pickup with Langston Galloway. Very on the radar, but he does what is needed.
Zach says he's a former Knick.
No. He actually was better with Detroit. But he's another player that gets his own shot. Now, is he gonna be a full option? No, he's just a backup guard. Him and Javion Carter, former West Virginia product, we're gonna run the backups. But is it Mikal Bridges? Is it Jay Crowder? Is it Dario Saric? Who's gonna be that piece that's gonna solidify that offense?
Could be Sark, because he's going to be the starting four.
So, Sark could do it. He was doing it with –
I think this is like when he was with Philly now, to be honest. I think him at that 4 spot with Chris Paul and Devin Booker and now Ayton, I think this is like when he was with Philly.
Because he's a stress now. But can he average a 15, 16 game that will be needed? Devin Booker's going to average 30. We'll call how it is. Ayton's going to average like 18, 20. Chris Paul like 18, 20.
I like Cameron Johnson.
If he can stay healthy.
He'll back up Sark. That's a quality backup for him.
If he stays healthy, that's my issue. But I'm gonna defer a bit here between you guys. I'm going in the Grizzlies at 10. Jay Crowder, John Morant is a. I mean, he was with the Grizzlies, but
they should have kept him.
So John Morant is a stud. John Morant, what he does to that team, and you could tell, you could sense vibes and energies on who doesn't. John Morant has it, as in the it factor. And John Morant, they build around him. That team runs and goes by him. Valanciunas is a great big for him. Mm-hmm. And Brandon Clark is going to be a great option to have to work with. You got Dylan Brooks. It's a very young team. But that team made a lot of noise in the bubble. So you're going to see a lot of that happening now as they get older and more run as the system's being put behind John Morant. They're still – I would put them in the top 8. The only problem is they're missing a consistent wing defender and a wing shooter, if not and or both. And they got to find a secondary scorer behind John Morant. The Grizzlies are going back to that.
Well, the secondary scorer is Jaren Jackson. That's their secondary scorer. He stayed healthy pretty much. That injury he caused, it was in the bubble. That was kind of freaky. Yeah, that too. I think
so. That's my thing. I'm waiting on Jaren Jackson, but
I think healthy. The two of them healthy. Not to I know because Soto's a Spurs fan. He might get a little upset by this comparison, but they remind me of when the Spurs added Tony Parker to the Spurs alongside Tim Duncan. John Morant and Jaren Jackson. It's a 1-4 pick and roll action that is similar to that. John Morant's ability to get to the basket off the dribble at will, and Jaren Jackson can shoot the 3, he can shoot the midi, he can post. They have those similar offensive abilities. Where they're not Tim Duncan and Tony Parker is defensively yet. John Morant right now is not a great defender. He gets lost in pick and roll ungodly. It's like you set a screen.
The same thing with Jaren Jackson.
You set a screen
Jaren Jackson is coming back from what? From a torn meniscus?
I don't want to say yes, but he come back from injury. So
it's just that other than Jaren Jackson, who's their third? First of all, who's their third option? What, Valanciunas?
It's supposed to be now. It would have to be Dylan Brooks now.
And Dylan Brooks showed out, but now he's still a growing player. So my question is, will he take that next step? It's all about growth with that team. But I think those guys take necessary pieces, take necessary steps, and they'll probably get the pieces later on in the season to get them into the playoffs, into where they want to be. Not projecting, it can be different. I'm not going to take the Spurs. The Spurs are too much in flux. No knock to your team start off.
All right, can we
Rudy Gay's aging
right now?
Rudy Gay's aging. He's not that guy anymore, and that's Ant's guy. We need to go back to 2K12 with Rudy Gay Melton match.
Jaren Jackson was a torn meniscus.
Okay, but Rudy Gay's not 20-point dunk at everybody and your mother. Rudy Gay.
He still get you 15 points.
Yeah, but can you do it on a consistent basis now off the bench?
I think Soto's 10th is a stretch, only because you don't know what DeMar DeRozan and LeBron are just going to look like. If they can look like all-stars, there's a chance. I say there's a chance because those are two 20-plus scorers. Even though they have their issues on defense, there's one thing that two of them can do still, and they can put the ball in the basket. DeMar DeRozan and LaMarcus Aldridge could do in the basket. That's the key. If Murray can stay healthy and be effective on the court for a whole season for them, they might sneak up on some teams because they're very well coached. They still have bench depth, and they compete. We saw that in the bubble. Those young guys played hard. They didn't get blown out in too many games in the bubbles. They barely missed out of making that ace spot. And it's because they needed somebody to lose in order for them to get someone like Phoenix. But they're a good enough team. If I was going to say out of the two teams he said as a fan to go 10th, the Spurs have a chance. The Knicks,
you got a chance.
I don't know about that one. About that one.
But yeah, so the Spurs still missing is growth with the Spurs. I'm not going to bank on DeRozan, Gay, and Aldridge, sadly. If they had Bertans, I mean, actually no, because Bertans got paid.
That was a horrible trade.
Shout out to Marcus Morris, baby. Got us a pick, and he got paid in the Clippers. He did well. He did well. But I'm not going to go with the Pelicans either because the Pelicans, regardless of Zion, who is still you drop weight, which is good. That's the first part. Now get a jump shot, 2, and 3, stay healthy. That's all Zion got to do, and he'll be perfectly fine, and he'll be the franchise he's supposed to be.
I'm so high on the Pelicans is because they almost made the playoffs, and Alvin Gentry was being told not to play Zion. So when you're being told not to play one of your best players and you still almost make the playoffs, then now that he has no restrictions on him, because I already said that he has no restrictions.
He's going to go off.
This team is going to be different. And I think Zion didn't show his full game like he showed at Duke.
Well,
there's a lot of stuff that he didn't show.
He's trying to fit in first.
There's a lot of stuff he didn't show. Like, he has the ability, he can get the rebound, and he can run the break himself.
Yeah, he don't need to Larry Johnson.
Get it and pitch it like he was doing last year. He can be a lot more aggressive as a point forward type of player in the half court because there's not too many power forwards that can guard him. His quick first step, he's getting by most players in the league. The only player that might be able to stay with him, you say on a consistent basis like that, is some guys like Anthony Davis that have that ability to have that quick feet and that long limp. But the average four he's going against, even if they stay in front of him, he's just too strong. I mean, we've seen him make Steven Adams look like, whoa, you need to hit the weight room. The way he can body into people like that. Yeah. I mean, no disrespect to Kevin Knox. He ruined his career in the summer league because he just ripped the ball from him. My man fell down on the floor. So it was one of those moments where you realize very quickly how strong
he's a man-child.
So, and Lonzo's his jump shot's only going to get better. And I think having LaMelo in the league now, that's that brother competition where it's going to be like, I can't have little bro out here outdoing me over here struggling.
This is where I'll go in with the Pelicans here. Zion's Junior got to get better. Jackson Hayes is going to be getting better with Adams now being the starting center. We'll give him a chance a couple more years. Adams won't be there for long, but he's there as as a stopgap for Jackson Hayes when time comes. Like everybody's issue, like the Knicks, like the Bulls, like the Clippers, like a lot of these teams who are struggling to find this one piece. They still have no point guard. You lost Drew Holiday, which is huge. through players and coaches alike, they've all said Drew Holiday is the most underappreciated, underrated player in the league. He's gone. You replace him with Eric Bledsoe, good guard, quality guard, but we've seen what Eric Bledsoe does ever since 2017. Shout out to Scary Terry. You're still looking for that point guard. Is Lonzo that guy? A lot of pressure should be put on him now because if Melo starts balling, he don't produce in the Warriors.
Lonzo could surprise a lot of people this year because not only with the whole brother competition, I think this is Lonzo's contract year.
Next year's his contract year.
Yeah.
But
this is his
option
year.
year. When you're top 5, it's 3x1.
And then now that you have no restrictions on Zion, he could easily average 10 assists a game.
He can. The problem is, can he score?
He'll be able to score. I think he'll be able to score because, I think Zion is not much of a paint clogger as people think he is, only because he moves so well without the ball. Normally, when you have a guy that can't shoot, like some people, like Josh Smith, that was his problem. Because he couldn't shoot and he didn't move well without the ball, you could sag off him. But because Zion cuts so well without the ball, if you sag off him, you look away, he's dunking on you. And and Adams has that ability with his screening and his passing that I think a lot of times Lonzo is just going to walk to the basket because if you slide over that, you got to respect Adams on that role. He's always been that, even with OKC. And you have to respect Zion when he's cutting backdoor. So sometimes if he don't necessarily have to make a 3 on this team, can he make a mid-range jump shot? Can he get in off that pick and roll and consistently make that? And remember, They do have Bledsoe, who now he understands on this team you're not being asked to be the point guard. In Milwaukee, he had to be that point guard, and he didn't handle that well. But here it's like, okay, I'm really here to back up Lonzo. I'm here to help him develop. So when I come in the game, I'm giving them 10 to 15 strong minutes on a team that already has their starting point guard.
Wait, do you think there's a chance he'll play alongside Lonzo? Do you think he'll start at the 2?
Don't make those records because I don't think they'll have JJ Redick be a secondary ball. He's not a secondary ball handler. Yeah, they'll put Lonzo at the 2 because Lonzo's size is more fitted at the 2. His skill set's a point guard, but it's now if Lonzo can't offensively get better, Lonzo's going to end up being just I don't want to say a journeyman guard, but he'll be just a regular point guard, just your traditional point guard or whatever, a taller guard to cover through. He's a point guard. He's a point guard of the future because they're not going to do that with Eric Bledsoe. Eric Bledsoe is who he is. He's always been who he is. Lonzo's going to be the number 1 guard on that team. If he can't develop, you're not going to play him. He's going to average 10, 11 a game, score points per game. He's most likely not going to be the starter. At least Bledsoe will give you 15, 16 a game. If Lonzo can average 15, 16 a game, along with those 8, 9, 10 assists, now we're cooking with grease. Now, okay, Lonzo's doing what he was supposed to be doing before, and now he's got to where he's got to be. And I show you that because now all the brothers.
He can shift his focus and be a triple-double guy.
Lonzo's on Detroit. Leandro's on Detroit. He's playing. He'll be the 2 guard for Detroit. There you go.
Oh, no.
Shout out to LeVar Ball. Pops called it. I'm just saying. Pops called it. But yeah, so that's why I'm not taking the Pelicans in there. I thought about it, but it's gonna take off for adjustments. Brand is gonna ball out. He was balling out last year. He proved the Lakers you guys should have kept me, but it doesn't matter because Lakers won the chip. So whatever he says now means absolutely nothing. But you guys,
he's in a better fit there, much better fit.
Yeah, I agree. So I agree. It's just now here's the thing. Now you got paid. Now can you produce?
You got no choice, bro. You got no choice.
Oh no, you got plenty of choices. Yeah. What's the right choice?
Because I think he understands that like you said, he got paid. He got the keys, and this team is still young. He's not old. He's like 23, 24, I believe. So he's still kind of young in terms of NBA years. He's not even in his prime yet. So that's why I said that. To me, I think this team is going to creep into the playoffs or like that because a lot of teams are going to sleep on them. They're going to look at this team and go, hey, these kids are still babies. They don't know what they're doing. And they're going to catch teams off guard. Mm-hmm. And they're not in a crazy competitive division in the West. So they have the ability where they could be a top team in their respective division, which will give them a fighting chance to get that eighth seed.
Right. Well, we'll see how that goes. Interesting. And then I was with the rest of the roster. Like, we all know that, well, for me, Cleveland and Detroit are not going anywhere in the East. In the West, Minnesota, they're just setting themselves a failure. I love D'Angelo Russell. I love his game. Who else besides Towns can he produce on that team? And then you look at Sacramento and
Sacramento's so disappointing. So disappointing.
Minnesota had a chance.
They're wasting talent on that team.
But like I said, I'm still waiting on a response by the Kings. So, because they're about to trade. Rumor has they're gonna trade Buddy Hield to the Knicks. Why are you trading Buddy Hield for? I mean, I'll take Buddy Hield. But why are you trading Buddy Hield for what?
That's a steal. You might as well just take that. If they're gonna give you a Buddy Hield,
if rumor has it, it's Buddy Hield for Randall and Frank. I'm like, yo,
I'm giving up Frank Nitty. No, y'all giving up
that.
Frank Nitty? Oh man, not Frank Nitty. That's the GOAT.
Listen, I like Frank. He's a good player. He's not a lottery player.
Out of here.
Yeah, he's gonna be gone. It is what it is. Tibbs is gonna rock with going back to the East. Tibbs is gonna rock with Dennis Smith because Dennis Smith has what Tibbs wants. He wants an athletic point guard. Tibbs rock with Levine because Levine is the athletic point guard. He created Derrick Rose. Well, he made Derrick Rose into a point guard.
Wait, hold flag on the play clip on all sides. Are we putting Dennis Smith and Derrick Rose in the same sense, or are we just hypothetically
play style? Yes. Here? Skill set and show and prove.
Right, so which we talking like hurt Derrick Rose when he was training to get right Derrick Rose, or we talking about
if
playing Derrick Rose
16-7 a game or 16-6 a game? I'm gonna take that.
Because right now this man Dennis Smith Jr. ain't looking nowhere like this ain't even dreaded Derrick Rose. We see Dennis Smith.
He lost a lot, so I'm not gonna go. I mean, he lost his mom. He went to a lot of shit back at home, so I'm not gonna knock him for all that. But now that's in the past. You've now gotten a full season dealing with that. You've had a good almost a year to deal with that. Now it's time for you.
The personal stuff, I'm not using that against him.
No, not at all. But we came on scene. You're like, oh, we're not jocking that. Like everybody said, everybody said.
Yeah, y'all Knicks fans is ruthless because y'all was booing this man every time he stepped on the court.
And he came out with that, and it's like,
and y'all still booed him. I ain't gonna disrespect that.
Well,
some still booed him, which is mass disrespectful.
Yeah, B.
He should chill out. I once wanted Dennis Smith over Frank in the first place. What we talking about here? But the type of ball player that Dennis Smith is the type of point guard that Tibbs likes. So if that in fact goes to what Tibbs was going to make him be, and if he is a broken down Derrick Rose, then him averaging 16 and 6 is a win. So I'm cool with that. But we'll see how that goes. But going back to the Kings, De'Aaron Fox loves Buddy Hield. Marvin Bagley loves Buddy Hield. Luke Walton, your man's Luke Walton, I'm looking at you, Keem, does not like Buddy Hield. The man's trying to Viva 2.0.
He probably don't like Buddy because he don't play defense.
If they pull that trigger for, what was it? Romeo Langford or Marcus Smart for Buddy Hield for the Celtics? Oh, boy.
I should have took that.
That was a rumor. Rumor had it, Buddy was going to be a Celtic in trade for Smart and Langford.
That didn't move the needle for Ann over there. He don't look like he's in.
That's man. When's the last time you had a pure shooter?
You want that man Fournier on the roster. That's what you want to hear.
I actually like Marcus Smart though.
I do too, but
he's
the only one's up for trade bait.
He's a good player.
Right now, I think he
should be started.
I think he's the heart and soul of the Celtics right now.
He is the heart and soul of Boston.
He should be started. He should be the starting shooting guard.
Yeah.
They should put Tatum at the 4, Brown at the 3, and Rock with a center. And then obviously with Kim was healthy, that's your point guard. That's your best five, to be honest.
Smart and
it is. That's the 5 that Rock put in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's what they end up with. Right. So y'all excited? Listen, Friday night.
I'm very excited for the season.
I'm ready to go.
All of that. I'm excited.
So when's the next time we getting together? I know we gotta get this happening more and more. So when's this next? Catch y'all next week. What are we talking about? We're talking about the preseason so far. Will we come back with
we might double up this week. You never know if schedules work.
Could be. All right. Well, we'll catch it. If not, that will be all for the Sounds of the Hardwood podcast.
Yeah. Everybody know how the season's going to end anyway. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be Lakers against somebody. We don't know who's going to be there. Well, we know the Lakers is there. So all the Laker fans out there, just make sure you RSVP those finals tickets because that's what we're going to be. Let's put us in the finals, get it over with. We just going to show up ready to play that. Lakers in 5 any other time. Hopefully, for fans' sake, I won't mind a Lakers-Celtics finals just for throwback purposes.
We'll talk about the Lakers. Okay.
Lakers-Celtics throwback, I'll take that.
It happened this past season, but we ain't going to talk about
I'll
that.
take that for a throwback. I'll take
I'll
take that.
If healthy, it could be a Lakers-Nets.
I would love that too.
I can see that, you know what I'm saying? Little bro Kyrie. Little bro Kyrie won't play Bron.
That being said, Knicks Spurs in the finals. So if that
maybe in 2035, but that ain't happening sometime soon. So, I'll give you that 2035.
That'll be it for us. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Fellas, it was a pleasure as always.
Lakers in 5. I gotta keep the tradition. Everything is Lakers in 5. You gotta keep that tradition. Speaking into existence, Lakers in 5.
And brother man, as always, Keem, as always,
as always.
Till
next time.
Laker Nation, all rise.